Your mobile app most likely needs to load resources from a remote URL at some point. Making calls over the network is a common use case that you will handle while developing any application. In this video, we are going to take a look at how to fetch data from an API with JSON response in React Native. And we will also take a look at how to display the data inside the application. So let's get started now. Welcome back to Tech with Muskan. My name is Muskan and my job is to simplify the React Native for you. So if that sounds interesting, make sure you subscribe to the channel for more videos just like this one. Applications on the web and mobile devices often cannot store all the information that they need. Therefore, they have to reach out to the web to update data, retrieve, or request a service from a third party. The transaction that takes place between two devices, client and server, is called an API call. An API, application programming interface, typically will use the REST design paradigm to manage all the ways that it can be accessible. Since this has become a very common task for application to do, a few helpful ways have emerged to get this one. In this video, we are going to talk about the fetch function and the Axios library. Both of these methods achieve the same task, making an HTTP call, but they go about it in slightly different ways. Fetch. The Fetch API is the most common method of retrieving data because it comes bundled with React Native. It provides a JavaScript interface that can fetch resource asynchronously over the network. If you are using React Native Fetch to make HTTP API calls in React Native, then Axios is the other option that you can explore. You can make any HTTP calls using Axios in React Native, similar to Fetch. Axios also provide you the facility to call get, post, put, patch and delete request. So as you can see, I created files. One is fetch call and the other one is Axios call. And I have also started my emulator. You can see right here. Now we are going to first call fetch API with get request with get method. So for this I have already created a button and now we are going to create a function on click of this button. And in that function we will implement fetch API call. So let's write code for call fetch API. First we will use fetch keyword. The fetch API is built in JavaScript function. You can use fetch by providing the URL for the location of your content and the method of your request. This will send a get request to the URL in method depending on what is at that address. A response object will be returned with the data. The data is not returned instantly. Therefore, the fetch API returns a promise. The promise object will return a response object with .then. When the network request is done, we will use .then for response, fetch the data at the URL, then transform the response into JSON. We will use catch for errors. If API fails and return an error. If there is an error, we will log this in catch with the console. Now we will get a response with .then and set it to the state. So data will reflect below the button in flat list. Here you can see in the emulator data is displaying which we get from this URL. We will receive this data in response. The fetch function is versatile in regard to the type of HTTP request that it can send. We can provide multiple parameters for post request in fetch API call like URL and method, same as get request. But some extra parameter which is headers and data or body we can send with the post request. This is the simple way to sending HTTP request. However, another popular method for sending HTTP request is with third-party libraries. One of the top libraries that developers use is Axios. The Axios library has grown in popularity alongside the increase in apps that exchange information using JSON. Three things that make the Axios library so useful. First one is intercept request and responses. Second one is transform request and response data. Third one is automatically transform data in JSON. We have passed a configuration object that calls an example URL with a get request. So let's take a look at smaller get request. We are calling the get request as we did with the fetch API, but we don't have to manually transform the response object into JSON because it automatically transforms data in JSON. Axios has more features that can be useful with bigger applications, but we are going to focus on the basics in our application. We will learn more in upcoming videos. So for Axios, I have to install library with npm like this. And then I'm going to import this library. And then I'll use it like this. First I'm using Axios keyword and it will take 2 parameters. First one is URL and the other one is method, which is get method in my case. You will notice that some of the parameter names are common between fetch and Axios. Now we will get response in dot then and set it to the state. We will get error message in catch. So data will reflect below the button in flat list as we did in fetch API. So that's all there is to the API call. If you enjoyed this, make sure to check my React Native course, and also if you want to see the code, check out GitHub link in the description. Thank you so much for watching this video. Have a good day.